Happy Friday, and welcome here to another edition of Husker Online Headlines. Sean Callahan, Steve Sipple, taking you into the weekend as we're nearly to the midway point of spring ball in terms of practices. I can't believe it's gone by this quick, but here we are, and we'll have a lot to talk about in our first headline on that. But you got a big weekend planned, Sip? A lot of basketball.
I'm gonna have kind of. Well, we got practice tomorrow.
Yeah.
We have practice availability with Coach Huel probably around noon is my guess, which means we'll miss the Crown. The Crown semis, fine.
Well, in the Cheetahs, we have a game at 2:10. So I've
got a game at 2:10.
I've got a big.
Yeah, you're not going to see the Crown.
And I'm stepping up into a higher head coach role this week because our main coach is gone. So
I hope you feel some pressure.
A little pressure.
Good.
Get the lineup settled out.
I want you to feel pressure. You should feel pressure. So that'll dominate Saturday, just availability. I mean, that'll take me till 5 or 6.
Just Huel.
Yeah, but still it takes a while. And then so here's the schedule. You want me to lay it out? Huel from 12, get done at 5.
Final 4.
Then final 4. I have a transmission issue that I'm going to look at with a friend, but Greg. And then
you're still working on this transmission?
Yeah,
I've talked to you like 3 times this week where you've been at different car places.
Yeah, well, we're not going to do the car play. We're doing it ourselves. It's going down. Okay.
Mr. Mechanic.
Yep.
Taking your phone calls here.
Yeah. So that's going to happen. We're not going to do it this weekend. We're going to study it this week.
You're going to flush the fluid and
yeah. That's not happening this weekend. That'll probably happen in the 1st of May.
You're tired of these marked up prices.
Oh, it's incredible how much transmission fluid is. It's way marked up. Still have to do that, but we won't have to pay for labor.
So car dealerships make their money on the service.
You're right. But the fluid is incredible. Anybody would tell you transmission fluid right now is through the roof.
Well,
watch the comments say.
I'll look forward to that story.
Yeah.
Because your missing tooth Greg's going to do all the work.
Yeah. No, not all of it, because he can't do all of it because there's a 2-man job. Sunday, I don't know what I'll do Sunday. Maybe nothing. Hopefully not much,
All right, well, let's get into the show. Before we get into headline number 1, HuskerOnline Headlines brought to you by StayHome.Care. Look, StayHome.Care, if you've never heard of their service and what they can do, you've got a loved one, a good friend, a family member that's in need of help, maybe someone that's coming off of surgery, or just somebody that you might have questions about for the coming weeks, months ahead. Give them a call. Learn more about their service. They can do everything, simple things like cooking, cleaning, giving you a ride to a doctor's appointment, grocery shopping. They are there to help your loved ones in times of need at home. Call them at 402-205-2233. That's 402-205-2233. That's StayHome.Care. But let's go into headline number 1. We talked about hearing from Matt Huel Saturday. Huskers are going to be gearing up for what appears to be possibly their first scrimmage of the spring. And generally in the spring, you would have 2 of these before the spring game. And the way it works out, this Saturday and next Saturday, practices 7 and practices 10 look to be when you'll see these scrimmage dates because of the Easter weekend. There won't be a weekend practice. Then April 26th, we know is not a spring game this year. So how will they manage those scrimmage dates? You have to think we'll see the first one here on Saturday.
Yeah, we don't know this for sure, right?
Because we haven't talked to Matt Huel all week.
Right. So we don't know exactly what the practice schedule is. I would ask you this question. I don't know why we're doing this, but couldn't you do a scrimmage day on a non-Saturday?
Usually you like to build up the week of practice to get, you don't want to like come off a weekend break and then scrimmage on Tuesday.
That makes sense.
Like you kind of
makes sense. Yeah.
I have never seen it in the spring here where it's not on a Saturday, like where they, in their longer practices.
Yeah. There's times when they'll devote some of practice to some live action. There's definitely that. And that's one thing I wonder about Saturday. Well, Coach Huel, when he'll address us. Sean, are we thinking around noon?
Yeah.
And would he say, well, yeah, sometimes coaches have tried to play it down and they do it this way. Yeah, we did some scrimmage and we also did some other stuff. It wasn't all scrimmage.
What's the clinic too?
Mm-hmm.
So Tim Podesek from North Dakota State and John Cook, they're 2 of the keynote speakers at the Nebraska Coaches Clinic that's going to be going on this week. And Saturday is the end of that. So you also have several hundred high school football coaches in attendance
So that's why they scrimmage too. They want to give them a show, right?
They should. I mean, we need to get a job on I need to contact Lincoln Pius and be a coach at the clinic for him.
That'd be good. Well, you're kind of a coach now.
Don't say that.
Could you play the soccer coach card?
Soccer coach.
You're a soccer coach.
No, I'm not I mean, look, I'm not a Damon Benning, Matt. I'm not a real coach.
Right.
Like those. I mean, I'm a soccer coach for YMCA soccer.
If you went to this scrimmage, where are your thoughts? What do you want to see first? What are you really interested in is what I'm trying to say.
Well, what I would expect is to see, you're going to see probably a lot of these key veterans that have played a lot of football, not scrimmage. I think that's been Matt Rule's stance. He started that last spring where Ty Robinson, Nash Hutmacher, you hold them out of these scrimmages.
Like who you think's not going then?
Deshaun Singleton, Javen Wright.
How about Buford?
Maybe Buford. That's a guy that makes some sense. I mean, Hartzog even would make some sense if you feel good about him. But then on the defensive line, I think you do have to probably play all those guys.
Yeah. And how about the offense?
On the offensive line, I mean, you look at who is available that's a veteran. I mean, you kind of need Justin Evans to play.
God, you wouldn't think they'd hold Justin Evans. Looks like he's trending toward being the starting center. I don't think you'd hold him out.
What about
Corcoran is rehabbing right now. Teddy Prohaska is doing work, but he's not doing contact work. Henry Letofsky's basically out, right? Tyler Canuck. God dang it, Sean.
You had it,
damn
and
it.
you tried to pull it back.
Yeah, Nat. See, there's no real old guys. I mean, come on, they got to go Evans at center, don't they?
Yeah, I think on offense, Emmett Johnson's one that intrigues me. Because
what do you do with him?
Do you need to over scrimmage him?
No.
Knowing what he is, or would you rather say, hey, let's see what Mackay, let's see what Quentin Ives.
Yeah, now you're getting somewhere. I would, if I were the head coach, think about that for a second. I would limit Emmett Johnson quite a bit, probably 4 carries, 5 carries.
What about Dylan?
He's still pretty young. He's still
developing. You want him to get some work.
I want him getting work. I want him getting work. I'm still treating him like he is a young quarterback.
But how they handle
that. See, that's interesting. You raise that because you look at Dylan like a veteran, and he's not. He's not.
But Dylan, if I had a guess, he strikes me as a guy that will be at Big Ten Media Days. I mean, we don't know that, but he's going to be one of the voices and leaders of this team.
Don't you think he should be?
Yeah. I mean, I think it would be, if you're trying to promote Nebraska football at the proper level, Dylan Raiola should be in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
Now that he's the returning. So, I mean, think about this. They brought Jeff Sims to Media Days.
Yes, they did. Well, they thought he was the guy. He was the guy. Well, he wasn't. He was named the guy.
I mean, he had a taco deal, a tractor deal, a suit deal.
Yep.
Before he even played a down of football.
And he was great at Media Days. Tremendous. Sean, he represented the program really well.
That's a good pick. That's Trey Taylor right behind Dylan. That's one of the key 2027 quarterback recruits Nebraska's on, as you see Trey zoning in on the quarterback position. But yeah, the scrimmages, these are generally, to me, the biggest practices between the 2 or 3 you do in August and the 2 or 3 you do in the spring. Those are the most important practices of the year.
We used to see Coach Rule, if you're listening, don't take this wrong, because I could say this to Coach Frost or Coach Riley or Coach Callahan or Coach Pelini. We back in the day, we used to see every single play, Solich and Osborne.
Well, there used to be
there was about 150 of them.
They used to put stats out after scrimmages. I mean, I remember Keith Mann and the media, it would have been Chris Anderson back then. They had Jeff Greesh would be like a stat keeper in the press box.
Yeah, the Final Four, I can't tell you how many. I could tell you about 10 years I missed Final Four games
because of the scrimmages.
Because that scrimmage was a long one, and it took a long time to write about.
Well, Bill Callahan had a notorious 180 play, 3.5 hour scrimmage.
Now, we didn't see it.
No, we did. We did see it.
I just don't remember it. I guess I don't remember
because Jay Moore sacked Zach Taylor 6 times.
Now I'm just saying, my recollection is, you're probably right. My recollection is we didn't see it.
No, we were in the bleachers. We sat in the bleachers. We were in the East Stadium.
No, you are. Now you're.
I was there.
No, you're coming back. It's come back to me. I did.
And it just kept going on forever and ever. Yeah. I mean, it was like 3.5 hours long.
Yep, we saw it.
Like Zach Taylor without a green jersey on, they sacked him like 10 times.
Didn't he like get a tooth knocked out?
Well, he had the flu and he had he was all bloodied up. That's when he won the job.
Won the job that day.
Yeah, he was the guy.
Basically.
Harrison Beck had not gotten here yet. And then the next year, Beck got that same opportunity in the scrimmage. And that's when he pulled up on his hamstring to avoid being sacked by Adam Carricker.
Was that the only major scrimmage we saw that year?
No, for whatever reason, we got to see those scrimmages in the springs. I don't know. I mean, that was just a different time and pre-portal, pre-NIL.
Yeah. Oh, listen, I also want to go on record with this too. I sound kind of hypocritical, and that happens in this business. But if I were a head coach, I would not let media in. I wouldn't let media into the scrimmage. I wouldn't even probably consider it. Unless there's some places I would, but not Nebraska. There's too much media. I would never even consider that, allowing that. There's too much, there's too much interpretation that can get out of that.
There's too many people in the media too that don't know what they're maybe doing.
You said that, not me.
That could be us too. I mean, right. I'm just saying like
that could be me 100%.
Yeah, I'm not saying it could be, it's probably, I'm sure anybody, but I'm just saying that's a lot of people that you're given.
Right. And what you do, you end up doing, you make some broad assumptions out of scrimmages. And it's because your context is so limited that if some guy has a big scrimmage, you can start, just can take that way out of control if you're not careful.
And headline it to the front page and
just bizarre stuff, kind of.
All right. Let's take it to headline number 2. But before we get to that, HuskerOnline Headlines is brought to you by Huel. And, Huel. On the way over to the show, got a workout in this morning and didn't want to eat a full meal. I had a Huel with me in the car. It was lovely.
Lovely. What kind?
I did a vanilla.
That's my favorite.
And it has like a natural, like green tea, 150 milligrams of energy boost to it, as well as the protein and everything you need in one bottle. And, if you never tried it,
I had one.
It's the perfect thing to eat. Kind of, it's not necessarily a meal replacement, but it can be.
Mm-hmm.
And as you take it down, you just feel great. I mean, it gives you your
good
protein, your energy.
I'm a mess on Friday because of just the way the week goes, but I'm less of a mess today because of Huel.
My daughter Kit has been drinking them in the morning too.
Wow.
So not she won't take a whole one, but she has her swim practices and things at Devaney tonight, and she likes to she'll take down the
Fuel up.
She said, Dad, don't drink the chocolate ones.
Well,
she likes the chocolate ones. But if you've never tried them, give them a shot. Go to Huel.com/Husker. We're giving you 15% off your first order of Huel plus a free gift. Again, that's Huel.com/Husker, promo code Husker to get 15% off your first order plus a free gift. Thanks again to Huel for sponsoring us here on the HuskerOnline Headline Show. Again, we're also brought to you by our title sponsor, StayHome.Care. Call them at 402-205-2233 to learn all about the services they can offer you and your loved ones. But let's go to headline number 2. The offensive line picture is beginning to take form. And look, Elijah Pritchett, I think you and I are on the same page. He looks like the left tackle.
Yeah.
Rocco Spindler, probably your right guard.
Correct.
But a key piece of the puzzle, I think, at least through 2 weeks of spring ball, appears to be Justin Evans. And right now, it looks like they are working him hard to be possibly the center.
Yeah, I think that's what's crystallizing through 2 weeks. And Donovan Raiola and his media availability on Thursday. First of all, Donovan really seemed, I don't know, is the term at ease? Does that make sense to you? You were there. I watched it twice because he was good. I'm going to write about it for this weekend. And I thought,
keep watering the bamboo.
Yeah, he said that you got to keep watering the bamboo, which bamboo apparently, now again, comments could take issue with this, but what I've heard is bamboo grows at an enormously fast rate, like 1.5 inches per hour if you do it correctly. I don't know, Sean.
You researched that pretty well.
I had a producer research it for me, and so he got into what makes a good center, and it's quite if you listen to him and you go back and listen to his media availability, he goes pretty deep into what makes a good center. He was a center, right? You know who else was a center? His brother. And he talks about how the center takes the offense on his back, and the center makes calls, and the center is incredibly important. And you just get to think about the importance of the Raiolas in this program. I mean, he was a center. He knows how to coach centers. His brother was a center who put the offense not on his back completely, because Crouch was playing it with Dominic, right? But and then you can extrapolate it out to who? To Dylan. Dylan puts basically the program on his back to a certain extent, right? Is the high profile quarterback. Raiolas are so big in this discussion. I mean, and here's the thing. There's a willingness on their part. They're centers and quarterbacks. What they're saying is, we got this. You know, that's what those guys say. A center is, I got this. I got to make the calls. I have to prepare more than the rest of you guys. Quarterback, I got this. I have to prepare more than anybody. And that's, I appreciate the Raiolas.
Well, Justin Evans is a fourth-year player.
Junior, yeah.
Fourth-year junior.
Yeah, he started 13 games last year at left guard. So it's a big step for him. It tells you a lot about him, that he's willing to put that it's a big job. That's what Donovan really hammered home on Thursday.
So if it works out where he's the center, Pritchett's left tackle, right guard Spindler.
Yeah.
So then the next question is, what do you do with Latoski? Is it automatic that he's right tackle, or is he move into left guard?
Could be, yeah.
And then it becomes a Gatula, Corcoran, Teddy Prohaska discussion for right tackle. And I think no matter what, you can't go wrong if that's how it plays out.
In pretty good shape.
I think that's a pretty good setup.
Yeah. There's competition. They have some young guys, those sophomores. When you look at that, Gunner, Sledge, Machachek, Grant Segrin, even in that conversation, you feel pretty good about it. Really, this year you feel really good about it because there's a good mix of young guys.
And I'll say that was probably the most at ease I've ever seen Donovan Raiola on a mic. Like,
that's what I was saying.
He just seemed very comfortable. He gave detailed answers.
Pretty detailed.
And
pretty detailed.
He even asked where you were at.
That's great, because I was gone. The other thing that was compelling is we always talk about young guys at that position. Where are they? Well, he played with Joe Thomas. You know who Joe Thomas is, Sean?
Yeah, the NFL Hall of Fame tackle that I believe won the Outland for Wisconsin.
Didn't play as a freshman. I mean, he mentioned that now there are guys, if they play their second year as an offensive lineman, they're usually really good. Their second year. The first year is usually, like Matt Rule has said, usually you don't even think about that really.
You think in the history of Nebraska football, true freshman O-linemen that have been successful, Will Shields is the gold standard. And he's the ultimate outlier, NFL Hall of Famer. But after Will Shields, I mean, Greg Austin played as a true freshman. That was a big deal at that moment. Yeah. And he ended up battling injuries, never really came off the injuries.
No, bad knees.
Javario Burks, rest in peace, was on track to be a superstar in this program. I mean, his first start at Texas in 2007 was outstanding. I mean, Marlon Lucky ran for over 100 yards against a very good Texas offensive line.
Late in the season, right?
Late in the season. And they pulled his red shirt.
Yeah.
And he was before his blood clots and what eventually caused him to retire from football.
That might have been a November game, actually.
Yeah, it was out. Colt McCoy versus Sam Keller, and then Joe Gans took over.
What a day that was.
Jamal Charles got hot.
Really hot. They couldn't stop him.
I've never seen he had like 200 yards in one quarter.
It was uncomfortable. It got uncomfortable. Like, what's going on?
Because it was a set. I want to say the lead was 17-3 Nebraska.
Yeah. And then Charles just got tracked. Anyway.
McCoy actually struggled in that game. But yeah,
more from Donovan. Teddy, just to be clear, Teddy Prohaska is doing everything except everything in non-contact. He's working out. He's with the guys, but non-contact. Turner Corcoran is rehabbing. Gunner, he didn't mention Gunner, but he's got to be rehabbing, right? Right?
Yeah, Gunner's coming off shoulder.
Okay.
I mean, this is all from what Matt Rule said a couple weeks ago. Like,
pretty much.
They're all out. And Lutoski was the one that he said was limited.
Right.
So they're not going to go through any full live drills.
He also had, I thought, some interesting thing to say when he was asked about Rocco and Elijah and the process to get them. He did the old phew, like you could sense that there was of course there was pressure. They needed guys. And he said you go after a bunch of guys and hope for the best.
Well, think where they're at if they don't have those two guys.
I know. It's got to be unnerving for all the offensive coaches and the head coach. You go after a few guys and hope for the best. And Rocco was really late, right? They got Rocco late.
Yeah, and they had to overcome some major offers.
Yeah, and it was tense. They had to get a left tackle too. They had to get Pritchett. So yeah, it's kind of scary. They lost out on some guys, some big Elijah World, for instance, but they got a couple.
Oh, and then the guy from New Mexico.
Yeah, the guy from the tackle. They're counting on that guy. They thought they were going to get him.
He ended up. Where did he end up?
Where the hell he went? Did he stay there? I don't know what he did.
But it wasn't impressive. Like he didn't go for like a
Wake. I don't know where he went. I don't know where. Let's not do this.
Yeah, because it doesn't even matter. Who cares? Like he's not going to Nebraska.
You've
so I don't
driven
care.
home this point a couple times, and you're so right. You're so right. It's worth mentioning again. Where would they be without Pritchett and Rocco?
It'd be a whole different spring right now.
Yeah,
and I mean,
it's kind of scary.
Now you have me intrigued. Shiaz Pete went to Kentucky.
Kentucky, that's right, because Kentucky throws around money.
Yeah, they ended up buying.
They were running back from Nebraska,
Dante Dowdell.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm looking back at the other linemen that visited Nebraska. They only brought in a few offensive linemen, and those were two of the big ones. Isaiah World went to Oregon. That was obviously a very big one. Keegan Tross went to Missouri. They had the Washington State lineman that went to Wake Forest that came in too. But, they were pretty particular as well. They weren't just bringing in anybody on the O-line.
Nope.
Isaiah World, they went in all in. I mean, they were right there with Oregon on the offer. It's a matter of where you wanted to go at that point.
I remember we were covering it, and it was a hour to hour, like, oh God, let's see what's going on. You're just all over that at the time. So we were kind of tense about it. You can imagine Donovan. I mean, his job's tied to it, So there you go. They got him, and they're all. And I would say this, so people understand, they're off to good starts. Both Pritchett and Rocco. They're off to strong starts here.
All right.
Good news.
Before we go to headline number 3, HuskerOnline Headlines, again brought to you by StayHome.Care, our title sponsor of the show. They provide consistent, compassionate support from personal care and companionship to daily tasks like laundry, meal prep, and assistance with appointments or outings. They're there for you when your loved ones need you and you can't be there. Call them at 402-205-2233. Okay, headline 3. Appreciate the story of quarterback Jalyn Gramstad, because we may not see many of these now moving forward as we shift to 105 and recruiting and the transfer portal and things have just changed college football. But Jalyn Gramstad, for full context, he talked for like 13, 14 minutes.
Yep.
Nobody on the coaching staff talked for more than 10. So
it's good.
People were intrigued. It's a good story. I mean, this is a guy that grew up in small town Iowa, had his recruiting process kind of derailed during that COVID year. Didn't really get a lot of looks. Decided to go to the NAIA after winning a state championship in high school, but grew up a Husker fan. Always loved Nebraska football. Was a safety at Northwestern
to start 1 year,
and he was a captain.
Yeah,
and then he went on to be a captain for 2 more years as a quarterback, where he won the national title. Then his junior year was named the National Player of the Year. Takes a flyer, shows up to Nebraska's camp without telling anybody, and earned a roster spot for Matt Rule. Well, that story, how great is that story? It's like a movie almost.
It is.
It won't happen
You know what
again.
I like, though, about it? There's a couple things I really liked about his appearance yesterday. There was kind of this, God, tell us what it's like to go from a place like Northwestern to a place like Nebraska and the players, the difference in the players. He's like, I don't know. I played with really good players at Northwestern. Yeah, there's better players here, and there's more that goes into it, but I played with great players at Northwestern. It was, wow, what's it like going into the horseshoe, you had never seen anything like that. And he's like, yeah, it goes all the way around. It's, our stadium wasn't filled in, but he said we played rivals and it was loud stadiums. I like how he kind of played down the whole, oh yeah, I'm a underdog. You know what he said? He didn't go the underdog route. You know what he said? I want to play in the NFL. I love that part of his. That perked me up. Twice he said, I want to play in the NFL, which tells you what? First of all, it tells you he's very confident. And second of all, he must feel like he has game. We don't really know, but to hear him say, I'm here, I want to play in the NFL, he must be doing something really well, because he wouldn't go to that podium and say, I want to play in the NFL if he was going out on the practice field and not performing.
What I wish, just because I wish we could see a spring game or scrimmage just to watch him a little bit, just to see what he can give them.
Totally agree.
Like, that would be a guy that you'd want to know what they have. He's also a guy, though, like if he looked really good in a scrimmage, his phone might be ringing.
For sure.
And I think about this, like,
for sure,
if he would have went in the portal traditionally and marketed himself with his accolades, like he would have definitely received
some money.
Well, I'm not saying like big Power 4 money, but he would have had like a lot of teams in the group of 5 wanting him to be their starter.
He's number 2. That's not a small thing. That's the thing. We're not talking. It's not like me on the cute little story thing. It doesn't work usually. And he's a good story, but he presents it like I'm here. I'm here. He wanted to come back and compete.
My thing too is like, you take Nebraska's quarterbacks last year that were backups. Could they have gone to the NAIA level and won the National Player of the Year? I question that. I don't think they could have. I mean, so what he accomplished already was pretty impressive. Like, because think how many thousands of players play NAIA football. Mm-hmm. It's not easy.
No.
And to get recognized like he did at that level, he's a dude. I mean,
he's a dude. I loved his appearance. Loved it. I mean, I thought he was great.
He will probably be a coach someday, is my guess.
Yeah. Yeah. He wants to be. I think he said his degree was in like business finance, and he's
not interested in being a banker.
He said that. He said he probably will go the coaching route. That's what partly got into the NFL thing. He said, I'd ultimately like to be a coach, but I want to try playing. I just loved it. I love that, because he must be pretty good.
Yeah, just like thinking about the moment where he was just working at a golf course the morning of that camp, and after his shift got over in the morning, just drove down, not warmed up, and he came to Nebraska's camp. I mean, it's just out of a movie almost. Like,
yeah, it's a great story. It's a great story, but he doesn't think of himself as like a Rudy.
No.
He thinks of himself as a guy that can win games.
And he didn't think about last year. He didn't have time to learn the system.
That was no offense to Rudy, by the way. No, he didn't have a lot of time, but he learned because he's smart. You can tell he's smart.
So we'll see where that story goes. But yeah, this story, we're not going to get many of these anymore.
You don't think so?
Well, how will you get them?
It's hard. Yeah,
like,
you won't.
You're not going to take traditional walk-ons anymore.
Somebody asked me that yesterday. Is there still room for walk-ons? What do you tell people?
Well, what do you tell people? I think Rule wants to have about 10 guys that kind of fit that description.
Practice squad.
He's mentioned Roma Mangini. We've heard him mention like Rowdy Bauer. I mean, like those are the kind of guys like that you want in your program.
Would they be on your 105 though?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Your bottom 10. Like, you don't want your bottom 10 necessarily to be like an actual ranking, or like you have to comprise like a team that, and you need certain pieces.
True team.
You need pieces to a team. It can't be all high recruits that want to play. I mean, you need to have plenty of those guys, but you also need some culture to your team too.
Hey, somebody asked me a question too. We can talk about it on our podcast. What if you have a 105, then you have 12 guys injured? Then how do you, like in the NFL, they can bring somebody off.
That hasn't been determined yet.
Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, but what do you can only have 105 active players a part of your thing.
Okay.
So like, you can't just have like the players that aren't on your 105, they can't be at practice. They can't.
God, I just wonder if that would couldn't you have like an NFL type practice squad where you have your 105 plus 12 guys?
How's that attractive though?
Yeah.
They're not going to allow.
There's one way to be attractive.
Like,
pay him $50,000 a year.
Yeah, but if you're not going to travel and practice with the team and get the amenities, like how many people are going to go through that?
Yeah, not many.
I mean,
I don't think.
Just on the chance of a phone call, like a chance, not a guarantee.
Right, it's different in the NFL.
Yeah, I think they're going to be pretty stringent on this 105 thing.
The big question will be that what I asked, though. You have a 105, then you have 14 injuries, and we've seen that at Nebraska. Can you remember Mike Riley? There's at least 1 year where they were in double digits.
My understanding, though, is you can only have 105 players on like the aid and the money. So you can't just remove somebody and replace them off that deal. Otherwise, that player will lose aid.
Okay.
So how do you do that?
I don't know.
Like if it's a good player, you can't just take away his aid.
Right.
Because you're going to give his spot away.
Oh, yeah.
So
it's tricky.
It is. And there is going to be a team, mark my word, where their numbers are going to get dicey.
It's easy. It's not hard to imagine that happening.
It's going to happen.
Yeah.
Like you're going to have a team that gets hit with something and they're going to be down to like hardly any offensive linemen or, just something of that nature where.
Well, if it hits you a quarterback.
Or a quarterback.
Hello?
All right. Well, Nebraska's lucky because they have Heinrich Harburg as well. They have a lot of options.
Nebraska's in good shape at quarterback, it seems.
In this era, I like where they're at.
I do too.
With the position and the development of Latif and Davila, what Gramstad brings up here, and then what you have Harburg. I mean, you got the ultimate insurance policy with Harburg there if you had to go that way.
Yep.
So, okay, before we go to headline 4, again, we're brought to you by StayHome.Care. StayHome.Care provides consistent, compassionate support from personal care and companionship, daily tasks like laundry, meal prep, assistance with appointments, outings. They're there for you and your loved ones. When you can't be there, call them at 402-205-2233. It's never too early to call to learn about their services. Thank you to StayHome.Care, sponsor here of the show. Okay, headline 4, all-encompassing basketball. Let's first get to the big breaking news.
Okay.
Price Sandford Fort. God, I got that wrong every time. It's like
it wasn't bad. You were okay on that.
It's like Bryce and Stanford, but it's Price Sandford. Committed to Nebraska. The Huskers go into Iowa, pick up a huge 6'7" addition, averaged 8.8 points a game at Iowa. What's funny to me, Sipple, is
what?
Iowa fired Fran McCaffrey, but they have a bunch of players everybody wants right now.
High price players. I don't know what Nebraska paid for him, but it's a lot. Price Stanford. Creighton, what you're talking about is Creighton got Josh Dix, who was
and Owen Freeman.
Josh Dix, and I can do this, Sean, because I talked to a college coach yesterday who was involved with another team that was after Josh Dix, and that price tag was $2.5 million. In fact, I wrote that in our tunnel talk. Josh Dix, 14.4 a game, commanded $2.5 million. Let's plus $2 million plus. Owen Freeman goes to Creighton for 1.75. Creighton's doling out money, Sean. And then they got that kid from Charlotte, and I'm sure they paid a number for him because he averaged 18 a game. Creighton's got more money.
Creighton's got evidently an endowment of like $1 billion.
War chest.
And
what's the endowment of $1 billion? But that doesn't all go to NIL.
But think how much interest they make.
That's true, yeah.
Off just that alone, and they can just kick that over to their athletics. But also McDermott, I would guess, had some phone calls for jobs, Indiana and other places.
Good point.
And I'm sure
that's not a guess, by the way. He did.
I'm sure for McDermott, he had ultimate leverage to stay. He's like, I don't necessarily want more money. I want money to get players.
And he went out and got Owen Freeman.
Beat Indiana and Kansas, Creighton
and Illinois,
the little Jesuit school in downtown Omaha. They used to play the Civic Auditorium, beat Kansas and Indiana and Illinois. Think about that.
I have thought about it. It's quite a coup for them to get Owen Freeman. You're talking about Josh Dix. Yeah. Kansas couldn't get him. I thought he was going to Indiana.
I do think
people are going to kill us.
McDermott's offense, though, is attractive. I mean, it's a good system. And
you know what else is attractive? Making the NCAA tournament every single year. You know what else is attractive? Going to the Elite Eight, going to the Sweet 16. That matters. It matters. He can sell that. And there you go. Now, what else?
Well, then college basketball, Nebraska will play Saturday. And how funny is this? Like the college basketball crown is on Saturday. So Villanova will play UCF.
That sounds right.
And then Nebraska will play Boise State.
Right.
Those are the only two games in college basketball other than the Final Four.
So those games will proceed to
four of these teams are not like the other four.
Yeah. So then the Final Four tips off at like roughly 5 and 8 o'clock.
So it's 12:30 Nebraska.
Okay.
3 o'clock Villanova UCF.
Okay.
5 o'clock Final Four. Then like
8:09.
8:09.
Yeah, the can't miss game of the weekend, in my opinion, is Duke Houston, which is, you don't call me at 8:09 and after, because I'm watching Duke Houston.
Are you a Calvin? I can see you being a Calvin Sampson fan.
And why would you say that?
It just seems like your style.
Because he's old and grouchy. Is that it?
It just seems like your style.
Is that what you're saying? I'm not grouchy. Am I?
I don't think Calvin Sampson's grouchy.
He's kind of a grandpa though. Yeah, he's 70 some.
He looks good though.
Pretty good. I don't want to hear from you during that game. You'll be doing stuff.
But anyway. What do you think?
Probably got some social engagements, right?
Yeah, we have a
we have
a birthday party Saturday night to go do for somebody. So we're going to be somewhere watching it.
Okay. What else on the agenda?
Well, Nebraska, let's get back to Boise State, Nebraska, though. Like that game, Boise State was the first team out of the NCAA field, along with West Virginia. They were two of the. So this is a true test for Fred. If he thinks that they were a tournament-worthy type team, this is a great measuring stick now after, I thought it was big to get that win over Arizona State because they looked sloppy for 30-plus minutes. They played really well against an undermanned Georgetown team.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're going to miss it. We're not going to see it. Rule talks at noon, probably. Game starts at 12:30. I'll be writing.
Well, and Bryce Williams, I believe if he scores like 30 points, like he could break James Palmer's single season record. I mean, he's like one good game away from having the most points ever in a season for Nebraska.
Williams is worth the price of admission to watch.
Ed Cooley said he's as good of a player as they faced all year.
Cooley they had that Nebraska guy. He was on a radio show, by the way, this morning.
He's from like Fremont, right?
No, he's from Lincoln. The fan that was sitting on Cooley's bench. That is so Crown Tournament. Like, he got a ticket and it was just happened to be like on the bench.
So they sold 4 tickets on each side of the bench, and Georgetown's coaching staff, what it appeared was they just kind of took over those seats.
Cooley looked at him and said, "What's this guy doing on my bench?" But then Cooley was pretty cool to him, like gave him a fist bump. His name is Eric from Lincoln. And yeah. But there was a point in the game where
here he is.
An official came to him, a tournament official came to him and said, "Oh my God, that's amazing. Thank you, Megan."
That's my amazing.
Tweet. Came to him and said, "Do you mind if we shift you over to the Nebraska side?" I imagine there was people.
Well, I tweeted that out during the game, and it blew up.
Did it blow up?
It's over 500,000 views on Twitter. Like Darren Ravel picked up my tweet. Okay,
his name is Eric, and he just bought tickets, and he didn't
make a
Nebraska
fan.
Yeah, he didn't make a big deal of it on our show. He was very matter of fact. But yeah, he said that Cooley at one point said, "What's this Nebraska guy doing on our bench?" But Cooley was good to him. The Boise State coach. Now he sat, same thing. He was at the Boise State game. Not when they didn't play, they're playing somebody else, but he sat on their bench. And the Boise State coach wasn't as friendly.
Well, they were probably confused that those seats were sold tickets.
Right.
Because but the NBA does that.
They do. I was saying that on the show this morning, that those fans, like in Oklahoma City, are like they sit right next to the coach, basically. And then the players.
What a great seat that would be.
Okay, now I would say this about Eric. I would feel kind of strange sitting there. Like,
wouldn't it be funny though if you were eating a bunch of food just there? Like,
you wouldn't want to.
You're like eating a piece of pizza and you have a beer and you're sitting next to Ed Cooley.
I just think that'd be a situation where you wouldn't want to do that. I would feel like somebody pranked me. Like, are you now? Wait a second. This is my seat right here. You know how you get a ticket and you're like, I wonder where this is.
He's just sitting next to Ed Cooley. I just can't get over that.
I can't either. With an in shirt on. It's remarkable.
Somebody said he was Connor Stallions.
Eric, and I will tell you, he's very nonchalant about it. He's not like, hey, did you see that? No, he's not. He's just like, yeah.
So they move over though to the T-Mobile. They're moving the games over to the big center, but Robin is out in Vegas.
Yeah.
On like a week-long trip in Vegas now.
That's awesome for our Robin, right?
Yeah, he's having a good time.
Good. And
he's still at the Luxor.
Did he stay at the Luxor?
I took a lot of crap from people like, you put him at the Luxor, and like it was walking distance to the arena. I wanted him to be able to walk to the games.
Absolutely.
Like I didn't want to, because
absolutely,
Vegas is a hard town to walk long distances, and you're not. Otherwise, you got to take an Uber. Or,
is it? Sean, I was there 40 years ago. That's
the running joke when you go to Vegas is you look outside like, oh yeah, we can walk that, and then it ends up being like a 55-minute walk in the sun.
Okay. Well, we'll experience that.
Yeah, we're staying in Vegas for Big Ten Media Days.
Do we know where we're staying?
Right now, I've got us at the W, which is connected to the Mandalay Bay, which is where the event's at. So that's the plan.
Late July.
All right, let's go. Before headline 5, again, we're brought to you by StayHome.Care. Check them out. Learn more about their services. Call them at 402-205-2233. Look, it's never too early to call to learn about what they can do for you. Thanks to StayHome.Care, the title sponsor here of the Husker Online Show. Okay, odds and ends. I want to hit on the House versus NCAA case
coming up,
because on Monday, a lot of our world's going to change.
Mm-hmm.
And we've been kind of gearing up for this day. But the assumption is this thing is going to get rubber stamped, and we're going to know the new parameters officially what the roster limits are and the revenue share numbers are and all the other fine details. And that's where you're going to have to really rely on the Pete Nakoses and the Ross Dellingers of the world to truly understand all this stuff. Because it's
okay. When the settlement, we don't know how this is going to work. When the settlement comes down, I think people pretty much know the parameters now. It's just a matter of it being rubber stamped. I don't know that any real
is there going to be any resistance to it.
Yeah. And, well, first of all, are we okay calling it rubber stamp right now? I've heard I've heard Dannon say the words, if this goes through.
Yeah, there's just a lot of unknowns.
Right.
And I think the thing lawsuits down the road, I mean, as you begin to take away opportunities for other athletes and other sports because of paying the football and basketball players, like,
thank you,
it's going to create a lot of issues.
Sean, that's the thing I hear a lot of. I heard it from Kirby Smart that the road they're going down, what ultimately it just maybe means just getting rid of a lot of sports.
Well, you think about, okay, swimming, wrestling, and gymnastics. What's the number one feeder for the USA Olympic teams? NCAA, swimming, wrestling, and gymnastics.
That would be criminal to get rid of.
And so you are eventually going to potentially hurt the development of your Olympic teams. And that was, I mean, all the best of the best are in that.
That's what Mark Manning has talked about, Nebraska's wrestling coach, that this is American. And the way we do it is we send people to universities, and they get a scholarship and they train and they get better at universities. That doesn't happen. That doesn't happen at a lot of places overseas. We happen to have that, and it's good. And that, I don't want to sound alarmist, but it could go away. This is all, I don't know. I think people are it's sort of an uncomfortable conversation.
Boy, for Mark Manning to finish second, pretty good year to finish second.
Why do you say that?
Because his stock is at the ultimate highest when it needs to be the highest.
Yes. I wanted to hear you
It's
say
kind of like Nebraska football in 2009, how high their stock was,
mm-hmm.
how attractive that made Nebraska to the Big Ten.
Probably don't give Bo enough credit on that.
No, because if Bo
Pelini.
Let's pretend like Nebraska was Florida State right now, or Clemson.
Okay.
And they won it in the Big Ten.
Uh-huh.
With what has happened on the field the last 15 years, would their stock been high enough to interest the Big Ten?
I don't know. But at that time it was, and like I said, like you said, they were playing for Big 12 championships. They were appealing. Osborne was working hard behind the scenes. Harvey Perlman was working hard behind the scenes. And I'll always remember that period. I remember we wrote a story about it because I was talking to Osborne, and he just dropped in that they were talking to the Big Ten, and we broke it. I mean, I was like, wait a second, what? And he said, wait, we've had some discussion.
Barry Alvarez deserves credit too for at least kind of getting the meeting set up.
100%. Alvarez deserves a lot of the credit. That was what Tom was going through Alvarez on a lot of it. Yeah, now it's coming back.
He got the sit down lined up. But now if we were doing this in 2025, back to where your stock's at, it would be hard for Nebraska. So it
would be. God, 2009 really wasn't that hard.
No,
Nebraska's stock was high.
They were preseason picked to win the Big Ten their first year in the league, over Ohio State, over Michigan, over Penn State.
Yeah, I always remember that phone call. I was in a conference room in Tom talk in the Lincoln Journal-Star, talking to Tom about something else, and he mentioned it, and I about had a heart attack. I was like, wait a second, what are you talking about? And I ran out and told whoever the sports editor was, and then it started. Like it got going.
Then Perlman got them in, and at that point, he's like,
Tom,
"All right, I'm done."
Tom and Perlman.
After that was done, then Perlman's like, "Okay, I'm gonna have you retire, Tom, and hire I-Course, and we're gonna fire Bo."
Yep, that's how it went down.
But amazingly. Yeah, we got off topic there, but people like when we get off topic.
That's how it went down, though. And Bo was shocked. He was shocked. Like, what they told me that I was going to be involved in this AD hire, which turned out to be I-Course. He said I wasn't involved at all. It's just come out of nowhere. He knew he was in trouble. He already kind of knew, but after that, I mean, he was like, they don't want me here,
Then basketball portal, we've hit on this already, but just the numbers that are being thrown out in general, just nuts.
I don't know, Sean. You're smarter than I am on this stuff. There are big numbers. We covered Josh Dix. Dix was the one that really got my attention. That he, I talked to somebody who was directly involved, and that number soared north of 2 million, and that's for 14.4 a game. I mean, he's good, but man, that's the number. And there's bigger numbers than that out there. Well, there's a kid going to BYU for 7 million. Yeah, the numbers are incredible right now. And I'll tell you something. I was told by a coach that the name on the jersey, I don't know, you have to educate me a little bit on this. I like having these conversations with you. In basketball, at least, this coach said the name on the jersey doesn't matter. The brand doesn't matter. It's the number that matters. If a kid gets offered $2 million in Alaska Anchorage and 1.4 at Kentucky, he'll go to Alaska Anchorage.
The key, though, now are these big schools. They can actually put it in writing where they're held to it, where I think in the earlier NIL deals, there were a lot of handshake agreements and not as much in writing. And you hear horror stories of guys not getting their money, like Florida State. Leonard Hamilton, they overpromised
sued
a bunch of players money.
And he's getting sued.
And you have to put it in writing.
Yeah. They're getting the money now.
Now they are. Yeah. But at the very beginning of the NIL era, written contracts weren't as easy to come by.
Josh Dix is going to get 2.5.
Council Bluffs, Abraham Lincoln.
He's going to get 2.5 million. That's not a small thing in a kid's world. Obviously, that's significant. And then it trickles down, to where a guy like Andrew Morgan's probably more, he's probably closer to $200,000, which is still pretty good.
Abraham, home of John Turek.
Bringing out some names.
Give you Tanya Talkie.
Yeah, Council Bluffs has produced some athletes.
No, AL, like that's a good program there. Isaacson's the coach there. He does a good job.
First name?
I say John or Jason.
Okay, Isaacson. So yeah,
he played for Bruce Chubb.
It's wild. The portal is wild. And what people wonder is how is he going to fare? Getting Price Stanford was gigantic. Now he's got to get a couple others to go along with him, but that's big. When Robin broke that story, what was it, a week ago or something, that he was considering Nebraska, I thought, we'll see on this. Bam, they locked him in. That's big.
All right, finally, big weekend for Will Bolt.
Yes.
They play Rutgers, who's, a good team. By the way, Barry Bonds' nephew plays for Rutgers.
Hello.
Center fielder.
Hello. Really?
It's Bobby Bonds' grandson, I believe.
Not nephew.
No, Bobby, the grandpa.
Oh,
And Barry's nephew.
got it. Wow. Okay, there you go. 6 p.m.
That game's on TV. Our buddy Larry Putney, who texted me last night for your phone number, but he said, then he's like, I already have it.
Yeah, I got a text from him. God bless him.
I was in bed when he was. I need to text him back.
I need to text him back to you, Larry. If you're listening, I'll get back to you.
But Larry's got the game tonight with Jeff Lisey, and they
Okay.
do a great job on Nebraska Public Media. But this is a big series because they got the win over Oregon State, but man, they lost the state title this week. I mean, Creighton.
They lost to Creighton, gave up 10. Nebraska allowed 10 walks to Creighton, then lost to Omaha and gave up 12 walks,
along with 3 hit by pitch in Omaha.
Yeah, hey, Sean, that can't. That's hard to. It's hard to overcome that.
I mean, is this mental? Like, what's going on here? It's frustrating because at the level Nebraska's at in the Big Ten, they do invest in baseball at the Big Ten level.
I think one thing that goes on, Captain Obvious, Sipple, one thing that clearly goes on. Well, Creighton's won 12 of the last 14 against Nebraska. Okay, think about that in your head for a second, there, Sparks. Creighton's won 12 of 14 on the baseball field against Nebraska. What to me that's Creighton underdog mentality, saying we're going to beat this team.
It's Ed Service's last year.
Yeah, we're going to beat this team.
You know, did you follow what happened at Creighton in the offseason?
A little.
Like, they essentially parted ways with Ed Service without like firing him. He gets to coach this year, but his replacement is on the staff right now.
Okay.
So like they brought in the former South Carolina head coach.
Oh, wow.
And
he's coaching?
And he brought in his guys with him, and Ed Service works with the new guys that are going to replace him.
Wow. God bless everybody.
And they came in and hammered Nebraska.
Yeah.
I mean, look, Nebraska gave up a bunch in that first inning. I mean, it was.
Yeah, I think it was 9-5 was the final. Then Omaha wins. Yeah, you beat Oregon State, and you think, okay, now they got some momentum. So much for that, lose to Omaha and Creighton. It's not good. I mean, I don't know how to. If you want me to sugarcoat, I'm going to have a hard time. Okay, I'm going to have a hard time.
They need to win this series this weekend. I mean, that's just what it comes down to. All right, but
then Iowa next week, which sits at top or close to top the Big Ten standings.
Well, big weekend. I'll see you at the scrimmage on Saturday. Not the scrimmage.
Would you know something I don't?
I'll see you at
the scrimmage
closed room that we are in after the scrimmage.
Matt Rule, if you're listening, I didn't know this. Sean's going to the scrimmage, and apparently I will see him there. No, we'll be in a room.
I think they have the Nebraska State Patrol at practice now. I think we'd be escorted out pretty quickly.
Hey, do you know what time have they announced what time Rule's press conference is yet?
Well, on the like 12:15 or something.
12:15 or something.
Yeah, well, it's on the sheet that we got like a month ago.
Oh, okay.
Babe.
All right, that was fun.
All right, well, good show. Have a great weekend. For Steve Sipple, I'm Sean Callahan signing off for another edition of HuskerOnline Headlines.